Genau, das muss man ein bisschen runter noch. Das ist für...
German Development Minister and with the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Economy of Ukraine, URC. This press conference will be held in English. In case you need any answers in German or Ukrainian, please approach me or my Ukrainian colleague Irina. Let's start with Minister Schulze.
Ladies and gentlemen, over the last few days I've often been asked, why are you already talking about the recovery of the Ukraine when the war is still ongoing? It was of course not Ukrainians asking that question, because the people in Ukraine know the answer. They have no choice. They cannot wait until Russia stops its attacks. They need a roof over their head, they need heat, electricity, running water, hospitals, a productive economy and schools for their children now. This Ukraine Recovery Conference has been very encouraging. More than 3,000 participants from governments, municipalities, businesses and non-governmental organizations have shown her that they not only believe in a better and a free and a European future for Ukraine. We are actually working on this better future together with Ukraine. It was a working conference. At the Ukraine conference in Lugano 2 years ago, we agreed on the principles for the recovery, reform to pave the way into the EU, anti-corruption activities, transparency and the rule of law, democracy, inclusion and sustainability. And 1 year ago in London, the focus was on involving private businesses and investors. And this year in Berlin, it was important for us that the focus should be on the whole of society approach. And that is why there is much more representation of municipalities and civil society this time. And that is why we organized a very lively recovery forum, which turned out to be the creative and networking center of this conference. One central result of the conference is that we defined 4 Berlin dimensions of recovery: the business dimension, the human dimension, the local and the EU dimension. And Italy, the host of the next Ukraine Recovery Conference, has already told us that it is going to continue working with these dimensions. And this whole of society approach is an important guide because it considers more than just the visible destruction, such as destroyed houses and bridges, but also the invisible impacts of war, from traumatized children to the shortage of skilled workers. All in all, more than 100 agreements have been signed, ranging from MOUs between companies and between governments to agreements for alliances and initiatives. And I would like to highlight 3 of them. The SME Alliance, the partnership between municipalities, and the Skills Alliance for Ukraine. The Ukrainian government has told us many times, without skilled workers, we will not manage to recover. The recovery requires roof builders, heating technicians, electricians, engineers, architects, and many, many more. And investing in skilled workers is an investment that pays off. Ukrainians have the knowledge they need to rebuild the power network, and at times like these, electricians, doctors, and engineers are just as important as tanks. And that is why Ukraine and Germany have suggested making the training of skilled workers a priority of our efforts. And many other governments, organizations, and businesses have joined us. As of now, 57 partners have come together in the Skills Alliance. Our first step will be to train, upskill, or reskill 180,000 newly skilled workers. And I'm sure that in the end, the total number will be far higher. We are aiming here above all to work with the people in Ukraine, those who have been displaced in their own country, the young people or the women who are needed more than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Ukraine wants to recover, its economy must keep running, business must continue producing, wages and taxes must be paid. And when we say economy, we mean above all small and medium-sized enterprises. The SMEs are the backbone of Ukraine's economy. They account for 2/3 of the economic output. And many of these businesses have needed support in the 2 years since Russia's invasion because they were forced to move to a different location or to establish new supply chains. And this cannot be done without loans. But in Ukraine, the interest rates of 20 to 25% are much too high for many SMEs, and that is why reduced interest loans are an important lever for keeping the economy going in Ukraine. And here in Berlin, 14 countries and 17 organizations have come together in order to assist small and medium-sized enterprises. Major contributions are coming from the EU in particular. And Germany is, above all, supporting the Ukraine Business Development Fund. And together with Ukraine, we want to expand the fund along the lines of Germany's development bank, KfW. There was a great deal of approval for the idea at the conference. The EU, the World Bank, Japan, and Luxembourg also want to get involved. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to echo what President Zelensky said yesterday. Thank you to all the municipalities who work with their Ukrainian colleagues. Municipalities are so important for the recovery, and in this effort, there is nothing better for them to exchange with other municipalities. And today, we did some counting, and we found that there are already 2,200 partnerships between Ukrainian and international municipalities. We also found that 2/3 of them, 1,500 Ukrainian municipalities, do not have a partner jet. And therefore, we proposed a challenge for municipalities to fill the gap by the next Ukrainian Recovery Conference next year in Italy. Ladies and gentlemen, together with Ukraine, our intention for this conference was to make concrete progress, to deliver concrete actions for Ukraine's recovery that are already important today, but which will also determine Ukraine's success over the next few years. So I believe that we have succeeded in that aim. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I would start with the fact that yes, war changed everything, and even the name of the conference. If there were no war, so today it would be the 8th conference on reforms. Mm-hmm. And of course, all of us love this agenda to discuss how to improve the reforms, how to strengthen the institution within the country. But each bomb not only kills the people, not only destroyed the residential building, it also renamed this conference, and it destroyed our shared vision of what the modern state is, what the modern economy is. And 2 years ago, conference have been renamed to Recovery. I think it also was a kind of manifestation of our shared belief and enthusiasm that, yes, we will go through and we would never give up. And I think that's just 2 examples. Macro-financial stability of our country and restored maritime logistics are enough to understand that our shared will to rebuild the economy and develop does not disappear under shelling. And there are countless examples of such resistance through development at both at national and municipal level. And today and yesterday we saw many examples of resilience. It was showcased the whole how with your help, with our partners' help, bridges were rebuilt, sewing was carried out, children were protected in schools, and water supply was preserved. But the most important, we continue to implement structural reform in cooperation with you. So we are very grateful to German government for hosting us, for organizing this URC. And I think it was great that agenda of this conference was very broad. And we had this 4-dimension, and what is more important, we've got very concrete results over this past 2 days, and 3,400 participants, more than 110 agreements have been signed. And in business dimension, so we have launched Business Advisory Council, so to promote private sector engagement in Ukraine's recovery and reconstruction. Also, one of the main subjects that have been discussed during the last 2 days, and I think it's top priority for Ukrainian government, it's energy issue. We have lost 50% of our energy capacity, so that's why it's top priority for the government. First of all, to repair the energy grids, energy capacity. Second one, it's to bring new generation to the country before the heating season. And I want to say that Ukraine have signed several agreements focusing on promoting renewables, focusing on delivering of the gas turbines and gas pistons to Ukraine. So that's why I think it's one of the most important things that this conference brings very concrete results in energy, in the energy area. So in sense of also economic and business dimension, my colleague Sonia just mentioned about Alliance for Skilling Up and giving more experience to Ukrainian citizens because we're shortage of them, business shortage of the labor. It's 56% of Ukrainian business. Our survey showed that 56% of the businesses said that it's #1 priority for them to get skilled workers because of that fact that 6.5 million Ukrainians are living abroad and part of the territory are occupied. We are facing the structural unemployment on the market, and that's why to respond this, we've got the separate dimension on human resources, and it's great that we've got more than 50 partners that join this initiative and would help us to train and retrain women, young people, also temporarily displaced people and veterans, how to integrate them from the front line to economic life. So that's why I think it's extremely important for the SMEs. When you also just mentioned about this, and one of the most popular topic that was discussed during these 2 days, it's war risk insurance. I remember perfectly well that during how actually the evaluation of this discussion happened during the last 2 years, but now we have very concrete results and announcement from the DFC Corporation. More than 15 export credit agencies globally now are providing war risk insurance and loan finance for companies willing to participate in reconstruction and recovery. And I think it's a great idea to add local authority and local dimension and regional dimension to this conference. As today we might visit the exposition of regions and with the idea of reconstruction and recovery, and I think that it was very useful, and I hope that the next country host would also, based on this experience, will also continue this practice. So I just would like to say that we're very grateful to the German government, to Svenja. We know how supportive you are, we know it was hard for us to imagine that you can manage these 3,400 participants. And for us, what was very important during the wartime, to have very concrete results. Because we're shortage of time. There is a front line, and Ukrainians keep fighting and keep working. So that's why we need and I'm very happy that we are going to bring back home very concrete results. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Minister Svenjenko. We now have time for a few questions. There's the first question. We have microphones, and the microphones will get to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Michael Petsurkio. I'm a contributor to CNN Opinion and a commentator on BBC and CNN. To our Ukrainian representative, Madam, I hate to put you on the spot, but before this conference started, we all read on the front pages of the Financial Times, arguably the most influential business paper in the world, that Mustafa Naim was blocked from coming to this conference. And in addition, he had some very, very serious allegations against the government, including preventing the allocation of EIB money for projects, being plagued by inexplicable bureaucratic delays, and also a significant reduction in salaries for his agency, which has led to an exodus of staff. On BBC this morning, the only way I could describe this was as like a schoolyard brawl between top officials in Ukraine that unfortunately made its way public. I'm wondering if you could respond one by one to these very serious allegations by Mr. Naim, the head of the Reconstruction Agency. And to our Swiss host, German host, if I could, it's a question on Switzerland. Their neutrality continues to seem to get in the way of exports of ammunition and other armaments to Ukraine. I know Germany has pressured them, and we have the peace summit coming up at the weekend. Do you think it's time for Switzerland to loosen its rules, knowing that if Putin is not stopped, he will go further into Europe? Thank you.
I would say that reconstruction and recovery, it's a very broad process, and I am today represent not only the government, but I also today represent, I'm head of the Ukrainian delegation on the governmental level, and our governmental delegation widely represented by different ministries in charge of reconstruction and recovery in their area. Together in Berlin, we've got Minister of Finance, we've got Minister of Healthcare, we've got Minister of Social Development, Minister of Economy itself with our team. So that's why I think that this representation allowed us, like a government, to have a very fruitful and practical discussion in sense of reconstruction and recovery.
The second question about the Switzerland, I will not do public advices to my colleagues from the Switzerland. I just can say that Germany is doing everything we can. We support Ukraine, and on the military side, we support on the cooperation with the human dimension. We support on the local level and on the EU dimension. That is very visible here on the conference, that there's really a backing for Ukraine. We are united and we are behind Ukraine, and what we want to do is showing that Ukraine is not alone. We are a lot of cities, a lot of companies, a lot of member states who are joining our forces for Ukraine, and that is obvious here on this conference.
A follow-up to the question my colleague asked. In early May, Alexander Kubrakov wrote a statement about his dismissal from the post of Deputy Prime Minister for Reconstruction. Now the head of the Ukrainian Reconstruction Agency, Mustafa Naim, has resigned, and I have a question to Frau Schulze. How this news, how these resignations, what was their reaction in German government? How did you react? And what do you think are the messages that Ukraine sends to European partners with this news? Thank you.
We are working together with Ukraine, and we prepared this conference together. That do our teams, that do we together, the governments together. And I think the success of this conference shows that this working together, that works, that we do a really good job here in preparing this conference and now delivering this conference. And that goes beyond single persons. It is about the teams that are working together here, and it was really successful for this conference.
Yes, and we do have acting Minister of Restoration and all his team working during the URC.
Dmitro Gushowy, Interfax Ukraine News Agency. Yesterday, the multi-donors coordination platform announced the start of work about new project preparation framework. What's about? What's the...
Probably you're talking about project preparation facility. This instrument have been discussed with several of our partners, with EBRD, with European Investment Bank, with the World Bank as well. The idea is to build the capacity, so to be able to prepare bankable projects on the central and regional level, because even when partners are eager and able to provide us loan finance, we still lack of capacity to bring on the table bankable projects. So that's why I think it's a necessary part for the investment attraction as well.
A question for Frau Schulze. I was wondering, how do you see the support in the German public for the help for Ukraine? As we've seen yesterday in the parliament, there were several members of parliament not present from certain parties during the speech of President Zelensky. We had the results during the European elections. Are you afraid that the support for all this help that the German government is giving is diminishing? And to your colleague from Ukraine, the same question. Are you afraid that there is a change in the German public?
To the parliament, I think it was visible that the majority of the parliament stands with Ukraine and wants to support Ukraine and listen to the president. And in society, if you look at the local level, there are a lot of people who are engaged in making for Ukrainians the stay in Germany as good as it can. And this local engagement, all these people who do that, who help the Ukrainians, I think that is a strong sign that there is still solidarity. Okay, we have a lot of problems also in Germany, but still, people still see that that is a war, that people need to flee their homes, that they need our solidarity, that they need our help, and I think there is still this solidarity in Germany.
I think Germany stands with Ukraine, and I think that the whole democratic countries are standing with Ukraine, because now we are also preparing for the peace summit, and we might see how many participants is going to be there. So it means that we are absolutely sure that Germany will stand with us as long as it would take.
I don't see any more questions. I still share the information that our two governments are working on a chat story, which will be published later today around the end of the conference.
Yes.